אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
אמן.
ערב נא אדוני אלוהינו את דברי תורתך בפינו ובפי עמך בית ישראל, ונהיה אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצא עמך בית ישראל, כולנו יודע שמך ולומדי תורתך לשמה. ברוך אתה אדוני מלמד תורה לעמו ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
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 Okie dokie. So I'm just going to take off this chart, but this chart I actually put on Bava Kamma on the group, so you can refer to it at any time. And what we're going to do is just discuss this out of the shir. And in fact, I can have this chart up. You don't have to see me, believe me. So we can have the chart up for a couple of minutes. I just want to see if I can minimize it. Now, let me just, so we're on page 5b2, okay? And I just wanted to explain a concept. So Sad Hashaveh is the common, is known obviously as the common factor or feature that we're learning from the two. And why do we need pit? Guys, can any of you think of there's a specific reason why we need pit?
Because pit is the only one that doesn't move.
Yeah, you read well.
No.
Did you remember? Did you remember?
No,
Fine
well,
if you read.
pit doesn't move. It's a hole in the ground.
Okay, so fine.
The
If pit
rest
doesn't
move.
move, can you bring a case forward of the two combinations? So if I say to you, why do I owe you any money for regular damage? What two cases can you bring with pit to prove it? I want you to articulate it. Each of you guys, an example.
Well, theoretically, an animal could be left in the path, and
No, Gav, we're in court. And okay, let me put it to you like this, guys. Let me just give you an example. And I'm putting the chart up there to help you, and then I'm going to break it down once I take the chart off. So I'm saying to you, you've taken me into court because basically my animal has my yak has walked past your shuk, your private, in your particular stall of the shuk, and the yak has latched onto a ming vase and knocked it over from the hair and through the lid. That's got a slightly sharp edge, and it smashed it. And I said, you said to me, you pay, and I said, nothing doing. Now you've got to get me to pay based on two others. Let's just say, because the whole premise here is, what if Regal was not one of the ones mentioned? How do you get me to pay? Using pit and one other. Give me the argument. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to do. You're all lawyers here.
So you're saying the donkey's walking in a public domain or walking in a field?
No, I'm saying we know that Regal is exempt in the public domain. So what I'm saying is there were areas that were public walkways within the public domain and privately owned stalls and shuks within the public domain, like there are in Israel. There are places where a car drives and there are places where a car cannot go on a pedestrian walkway. So I'm saying I need you to prove if Regal wasn't mentioned as one of the what are we coming to do here, guys? We already said in the beginning of the daf, in daf B1, 5B1, that we're coming to prove. What are we coming to prove? That not all of the damages would have to be mentioned. This is according to Zavid, according to Rava, that does all the damages have to be mentioned? In other words, can you not deduce the one from the other? And they were saying, no, you can't because of the unique feature. But you've got Sad Hashaveh, which is the common characteristics, and about two features, you should be able to prove the third by logic. So I'm saying, let's say that the others are not mentioned and you've got two other features. Obligate me, guys, for Regal. by logic. Now Gemara is getting hard. Now you actually have to take the law and apply it. You get what I'm saying? I'm not just reading it to you. I want each of you to take a stab at it. And I know you figure it might not be a great use of the lesson. There's no better lesson than taking the law you learned and being able to convict me.
So this is not it's not somebody who's trying to get out of it. It's somebody
Yes,
trying
trying to get out of it, guys. Convict me.
You have to prove his
okay.
his liability.
So this guy's going to say,
Let's keep it real. My yak came past your shuk, and its hair snagged upon one of your Ming vases and smashed it.
So you're going to say, correct. So you're going to say that vase was actually like a pit. It was in the way.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying I'm not paying you. I'm saying you guys need to find two common characteristics to say by virtue of that I need to pay. Because let's say Regal wasn't mentioned in the Mishnah, etc., or the Torah. What do you think the whole of the fifth daf is coming to prove? Guys, okay, let's start again for a second. In principle, Michael, what is the fifth daf coming to prove?
I'm lost here, Damon.
You lost.
That is lack of ownership.
No, Gav. All right, guys,
people are trying not to take ownership of the pit.
No. All right, guys, let me explain it to you again.
I'll say something.
Yes, Kev.
He should have been more in control of his animal, more responsible for the actions of his
guys,
animal.
You've missed the principle of the fifth daf. I'm telling you why I'm doing this now. There's a reason. You guys have been doing this for a month, and you guys all of you are smart, you're sharp. And we've got to get to a stage where you actually can use and apply the law. That's the point. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not going to use anything new here. I'm going to use everything that we've learned up until now, because what's the magic of the fifth daf is it's coming to give a summary of the first four dafs and then trying to say, like, try and prove your legal case here. So let me just give you a summary of what the fifth to the sixth daf entails. From 5A4 to 5B1 to 5B2 to 5B3 to 6A1, what we discussed yesterday as a summary, and then we went into one or two issues. What it's trying to say, there was a whole argument, and that argument was stated as follows, right? The argument was stated, why is there need to mention a second damager? Because the Mishnah basically ends off and says that if it's your property or it's your force, you have an obligation to pay if it has caused damage. And then what we learned from a case of Rav Zavid, quoting Rava, that at the end of the day, you can't derive one from the other because of the unique features. Okay? But what we can say is, because it says the ox is not like the mave is not like the ox, we can say generally, if you do two features, you can prove a logical argument on the common characteristic that you're responsible for the third damager. If you take two damages by virtue of logic, okay? And the fact of it is, I need you to prove a case. So if you didn't have regal stated and my yak hair snagged on your Ming vase in your shuk that you're trying to sell, and it got caught and it smashed it over, and I say I'm not paying, and you take me to the base din, and you don't have regal as either a biblical ordinance or in the Gemara in terms of making me incumbent to pay, I want you guys to prove using two other damages that I have to pay for the common characteristic.
So you can use pit.
Gavin, I want you to articulate an argument against me. And it's obvious you can use pit. I've mentioned that. What I'm saying is, guys, I need you to articulate a real argument against me. Because what I did yesterday and the day before is I put arguments against you guys for every single damager. In other words, if you're saying I'm not paying, I'm saying, but you take this, and this proves that you've got to pay. So I want you guys to do that. This is a very important exercise. I know it's not the standard scope. But this is the point of it.
Got to determine what it was.
I don't know what you mean by that, Kev.
If we can determine what that is yak, that the yak knocked off the wing vase, if we can, we need to establish what that is first before we can.
No.
We don't know what it is. It's very difficult.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's smashed. And I'm saying to you in court, let's say no regal is mentioned. This is what the daf's coming to say. Let's say one of the damages isn't mentioned explicitly. I want you to get two other damages and prove to me that I owe for regal, for example. I can give it to you guys over, but I want you guys each to take a stab at trying to think of it, not take a stab at me. That's why we're in court.
We need to establish what it is, what type of damage it is. Otherwise, it's very difficult.
Are you talking about the yak bumping the article?
No, Michael, what I'm talking about is as follows, is that what the stuff is saying, guys, you don't worry about evidence and everything else. What I'm saying is the duff is coming to say, why did we have to bring every damager? Because surely you could prove each damager, even if it's not mentioned by the end of the Mishnah, that says if it's your property or it's your force, basically you have to pay. And then Rav Zavid said in the name of Rava, well, you can't prove one from the other from the unique feature, and you need more than two. You need two or more for the common characteristic. There is a problem sometimes it won't work with ox and mave with fire sometimes. But the point of it is I want you to get two damages to other damages mentioned in the Mishnah to prove I owe for regal. And if you guys can't work it out, I'll give it over to you, but you've got to try.
Shane, and is a possible one? No.
Okay, so give the case over.
Okay, so for example, the animal walked in there and decided that it liked something there. And
No, Marco, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you taking me to court for regal. And regal isn't expressly mentioned. I want you to take two other damages and prove on that basis I owe for regal. I'll do it to you and I'll show you. Yes.
So within regal.
What do you mean within regal?
So, all right. So you don't want damages from the other types of damages. Like,
no. I'm saying you can bring others as proof, but what I'm saying is, say regal isn't mentioned explicitly. Okay, so this stuff what is the stuff coming to say, guys? At least tell me what the stuff is about, the fifth stuff. What's it coming to bring in essence?
That you can use more than one, what's it called? Characteristics. So if you can't use regal, then you can use Keren and Pit. If you can't use regal, you can use fire.
Yes, I know you're reading it from the screen, from my image. I'm saying, that's not what I'm saying. Gavin, prove the case against me. That's what I'm saying. Using that chart. Add the two last shiurim I've given. Prove it against me. Articulate it, guys.
So when the animal walks through the field, if regal doesn't apply, then you can say that it was Keren. It actually attacked.
No, guys, you're missing all of it. Let me give it over to you.
Maybe we're not understanding you.
Okay, none of you guys did Chazorah, I guess. Hey? You didn't go over it.
That part you got right.
Okay. I was hoping you'd get it right. All right, guys. All right. Let me explain to you what I'm saying here. Okay, let's have this discussion. So say there's a partnership with the four of you guys, okay, and you own a store together. You own a Mingvar store, and the four of you are business partners. And my yak there has done damage, or my ox has compassed, and within your stores knocked over a lot of priceless items, very expensive items. So you all get a lawsuit together. And Okay, let's do it the other way around. You guys own a cattle farm. Let's do it the other way around. And you own an ox. You have a farm, the four of you have an ox. And I say to you, your ox has damaged my stall and it's smashed all the Ming vases and it's walked through the stall. And I'm having a case against you in Beis Din. And you all say to me, but you've got no case for Regel. Because we're taking a case here, say Regel wasn't mentioned in the Gemara or the Torah. I have to prove from the other damages that you have to pay for Regel. Are you with me? This is the case. Do you at least understand the case? Guys, you have an ox. All of you are in business together. You have different oxes. Your ox came through and smashed my store by just normally walking past. It didn't create sedative damage. It was just the way it walked, and it knocked over very priceless Ming vases, and I'm out 50 grand or 40 grand or whatever, and I'm taking you to court.
Yeah.
So you turn around to me, and we're having a discussion where Regel isn't mentioned. There's no scriptural source, or it's not in the Gemara.
Dan, I'm sorry. It stopped completely there for a minute.
What stopped?
It says your internet connection is unstable. I don't know why. I didn't hear you the last.
Also, it's fine on my side. Where are you?
I'm fine. It's good with me too.
It happened here. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. So, all right, again, here's the case. You all own cattle together. One of your oxes or your yak, etc., went past my store, and it basically walked past, and I had a whole lot of Ming vases on display that were very, very expensive. And in the normal way it walked, it smashed them over, knocked them over, right? I'll come to take you guys to Beis Din, and because you say to me, I'm not paid. We're taking the case here where the whole premise of the Mishnah on Daf 5 is saying, listen, there's no damage mentioned, say, for example, for Regel. No scriptural source for Regel, for example, or no case in the Mishnah. I've got to prove with the other damages that you owe me the money. By virtue of what? By virtue of what, guys? The common characteristic. Now, I'm going to prove this to you, and I want you to do it to me. It's no good looking at the chart and just saying, well, it's the pit.
But the common characteristic is pit.
Gavin, you're missing it. Just listen for a change. China. It's not going to help to keep saying the word pit. You guys haven't given me an articulate argument.
Okay, maybe. Okay. So you're saying the question is as follows. Okay, can I repeat the question?
Fine. So there's a sad ashaveh, which is the common characteristic. It's no good keep saying you need the word pit. I'm aware of the chart that I've sent you. You're all looking at it.
Okay, so you're saying that he has a guy in the store. All right.
Yeah.
An owner with his ox comes along and bumps something in the store.
Yes.
Right? And something smashes.
Yes.
They go to court.
Yes.
Right. You're saying that the owner cannot use Regel as a cause or reason for claiming damages.
Why?
And
I'm asking you why.
I thought you're saying that is one of the conditions of the question.
No, I'm saying why. I'm saying why in this case.
Because obviously the animal didn't do anything. It didn't bump. All the things that relate to Regel didn't apply. For example, the animal bumped. The animal didn't.
No, guys.
So the animal was outside the public domain for sure.
No, guys, let me go through this again with you. Let me go through it again with you. Because this is the problem when you don't do chazorah. Let me tell you what the problem is. Is that what is the fifth daf? What's the whole discussion of the fifth daf? Before we go into any scenarios here, I'm asking all of you, what was this fifth daf about that I went through yesterday? I went through 5A4 to 6A1. What was the fifth daf coming to discuss?
So you didn't get the video yesterday.
Cute, Michael.
I didn't. I always look. Well, not always,
but you attended. You attended. Guys, you attended.
No, you were trying to you were busy comparing how they're not relatable. Each one, Keren from ox, Keren, Mave, none are like the other. They're all different. Fire is different. Pit's different. They're all different to each other.
So one of the things, you're correct, one of the things I mentioned in the shir were the unique features. What else did I mention? I mentioned two other factors.
Well, you said that that's the part we don't remember, obviously.
Okay, I'm doing this not to make you guys feel bad, but I want you at the end of the day to have all these duffs that we're doing and actually win a case. You guys are all super bright. I wouldn't waste my time if you weren't bright.
He's just saying that a lot of pressure on us.
What?
He didn't say super bright because it puts too much pressure. I don't think the super bright would.
Listen, guys, I got a standard 7 maths, and I just did enough in matric to do as little work as possible. I'm not bright, believe me. So you guys are on a different level. So the thing of it is, you guys are exceptionally functional, all of you. So what I'm saying is you've got to understand the premise of what the fifth daf is coming to discuss before we can talk about scenario. And I had a gut feeling afterwards that you understood what I was talking about, but you missed the essence of the daf. And how I did work this out is by doing a broad overview. And the reason I did a broad overview is because of the complexity of this particular daf. So the broad overview came to teach us what?
Damn, I think we all got clueless this morning, and I don't think you're going to somehow find it.
All right. So let me give it over to you guys. Let me put you guys out of your misery, okay? Fine. The daf comes to say one thing. It says the ox is not like the marve, and the marve is not like the ox. The ox and the marve are not like the fire in that they are living things. And the ox, the marve, and the fire who is has a propensity to move and cause damage is not like the pit that is stationary. So there's certain things that the damages have in common, and there's certain things that are unique special features about each of the damages. Now that unique feature has to do with the fact of what makes it liable, and also the leniency of each feature. And what the daf is coming to say is that when we're looking to convict, because there are going to be cases that are not mentioned in the 4 listings of the Mishnah. We already went to Rav Ashaya, which had another 9, equaling 13. Then Rav Chia, which had 24. And then we learned another 2 damages that Rav Chia didn't mention in terms of, the defamer, etc., and Kodashim, etc. So you are going to have cases in life that are not mentioned here. So you've got to take certain of the cases that are mentioned here and prove by virtue of logic that anything that's not mentioned here is you're obligated to pay for based on these base principles of not the uniqueness or the unique reason for exemption or the unique thing that obligates, but the commonality that they have of 2 or more damages. So before we discuss why pit is necessary, we've got to understand that that's the case. Is that in law, what happens in law? In law, you're actually obligating somebody with a new case based on a history of cases. Am I right? By logical deduction. This is law. And that's what I'm going to get you guys to actually do, is to work it out and be able to convict, slam dunk the case. The guy goes into chuki unless he pays. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to use logic and to do these sort of things. But you've got to understand that the 5th day, daf, we've done at a stage where you've done this for a month, where you've graduated to the point where you guys can become lawyers. You're not at law school anymore. And that's the strength of the Gemara, is you're at that point now when we hit the 5th daf. And every case that I'm talking about now and what you can convict a person with is about things we've already discussed. So before we bring more complex issues in, and it's going to get a lot harder than this, you've got to be able to convict based on what we've done so far. Does that make sense, guys?
Is that including all 13 from the one guy?
I'm quite happy if at this stage you just convict on the 4. You can literally take the 4 and convict for most things. Let's just, without even getting complicated and convicting for the other 13 or 24 plus the other 2 exclusions of Rav Chia. With the 26, it's devastating. Even with the 4, you can convict on most things. And what's going to happen is you guys are going to start to put your cases together.
So are you saying in all these cases the primary damager is not available?
No, I'm saying in the case where we're saying one of the primary damages is not available, you've still got an additional 3 or 2 of the primary ones to be able to convict. And while we're saying it's not available, we're taking a case where something new comes to light that you owe for. And where you take a case of a primary damager that's not available, where for sure you have to pay based on what the Torah says, if you can convict on such a case where it's not available, so much more so, that you can convict on a case that's not mentioned. Because we're giving you the more harder argument to defend. And it's not only possible, it's an essential. So
but I don't understand, because all these characteristics are all different. So how can there be commonality?
No, because we already said, remember what we said in 5b3 and 6a1, is that we take the common characteristic. It's not the unique features that we're discussing. It's the common characteristics that if I say to you, both of these common characteristics occur in the third case, that's enough to set a legal precedent. It happens in secular law as well. It happens in absolute secular law. We're not saying what's unique. We're not saying if a bucky hit you in one case and in another case a person hit you with a golf club. Yes, they're unique features. But the fact of it is the impact. If you can prove impact for the 2, or you're liable, you can prove for another object that maybe you got hit with a book that you're liable based on the other 2 and a logical deduction. So I'm saying you're never going to have every case, every item explicitly mentioned. What we're going to do is take certain cases and put them together to prove your case. So what the Gemara wants to say is let's leave out one of the damages, and let's take a few of the other primary damages to prove if that one was missing, you'd still have to pay. This is an application of law in the 5th daf. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. Okay, so just give us an example. Okay, give us an answer to this one. Just go through it according to the logic that you're explaining right now. And this example, tell us what you're talking about in practice.
Fine. So I'm taking you to court because your ox actually damaged my ming vases by walking through my store, okay? And you say, listen, I don't owe for regal. We're talking in a fictitious case where regal isn't mentioned scripturally and it's not mentioned in the Mishnah. I've got to take some of the other damages now and prove that you owe for regal. Do you understand that? That's the premise.
I don't. You're saying you can't use regal, but
I'm saying why can't you use regal, Michael?
Okay.
I'm asking you why you can't.
All the characteristics of regal don't apply in this particular case.
No, of course they apply. We're trying to take an example where if anyone, this is an intellectual exercise of application of law. What Rav Zavid is saying in the name of Rava is, say one of the damages was missing here, and you didn't have a scriptural source, because again, if you have a scriptural source and it fits within that description, you pay. Obviously, regal does damage by its body in the natural way that it walks, and in that particular case, on that basis, you pay. But let's just say that regal wasn't mentioned for some reason in the Torah or the Mishnah. How could you prove with a case of regal by logic, using another 2 damages, that you would have to pay for regal? This is an application of law based on logic.
I would use Shane.
Yes.
I would say that the animal rubbed up against my vases for self-gratification and broke the vases. So I'll
right,
use that.
but my argument to you...
And Shane also is not in the public domain. So this is not in the public domain.
You can't say that because the refutation would be as follows. If you use one damager, I'd say yes. Legally, you're obligated for Shane because the animal got physical gratification. Okay? And my ox never got physical gratification because it never ate your utensils and it never rubbed itself up against it for gratification. It just walked naturally. So
but
it
regal
never,
doesn't
never
exist.
rubbed against...
It's not an option. Regal doesn't exist. In theory.
You guys are missing it.
It can only be regal. What else can it be?
Guys, you're missing it.
Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a minute and a half left. Now, and I think this was a great share because, it's unpacking what we don't understand.
So what I'm saying, Michael, is in Gavin's case, just one thing to end. He can't bring a single damager because if he says, I'm obligated on regal, let's say in theory, regal isn't mentioned because his Shane case is the animal rubbed up against the utensil for physical gratification, and in that case we can see that you pay for damages. I would argue in the case of regal that my animal got no physical gratification by rubbing up against the object, and therefore based on the fact that your unique characteristic of Shane of the physical gratification was a reason why you pay. It's that unique characteristic. You can't prove on one item that it's enough to convict me when that unique principle doesn't apply. That's why you have to work on the common principle of more than one example. Because one example alone, I could just refute it by saying my animal doesn't fit that description. It got no physical gratification from rubbing itself up against the utensil. It knocked it. It just walked past. I can't help it. It walked past. In order to convict me, using the Shane example, my animal would have to get physical gratification, enjoy, or some sort of relieving of itch from walking past the object. So bringing a single case of Shane against the